Hello, hello, Internet. Thanks for joining me today. Another glorious day. Not sure how many more of these glorious days we're going to get, but we got one today. So let's enjoy it, shall we? Probably not going to be a long video today, but I kind of been meaning to redo my thoughts on a particular spinner, especially after I'd done a little bit of something. So I've done a little bit of something, so let's review our thoughts. Oh, she comes in warping hot. Look at her hold that warp. Just going, just doing a little split there. Just warping. Brass Sonder. So when I first looked at this, I borrowed one to review, and at the same time was being sent one to review. That just kind of worked out that way. Just how things go sometimes. And I had asked for. I guess I don't know if I really asked. I think he just offered, and I said, yeah, it's fine, the media blasted version, just to get like a different texture from them, but I had always planned to polish it up myself. And, it's just something with media blasted, man. I just really don't like it. Getting something in media blasted for me just doesn't do a whole lot for the spinner. So when I got this and I got the aluminum one, I really kind of was like, man, I kind of like the aluminum one, because you could feel the weight difference, but that finish, man, just wasn't doing it for me. So we put this in the old stone wash, and then gave it a Flitz metal polish, and I showed it off in that stone washing video, but since this is a separate video, let's just get in and take a quick look here. So you can see a little bit of texture from the stone wash, probably a little bit of texture from the media blasted. One spot in particular, it's got kind of this, I don't know if that was there. I really like that. I don't know why. It's just those little imperfections to me sometimes are things I just really like. Also on the buttons, obviously the media that I was using wasn't fine enough to really get all the way in there, so you get kind of this nice worn look on the buttons, which I really dig. So part of the reason I wanted to re-look at the Sonder was one, now that I've kind of updated the finish, probably very closer to what their polished is. Right when we looked at the aluminum, it wasn't a mirror polish, but it was a nice polish. But now we've got a different finish that more aligns with my tastes, so I get a better view, at least, of what I like from a spinner. So if you like media blasted, my views on this polish is probably going to be closer to what your views on the media blasted would be, for example. But their second versions come with a different bearing. So because the spinner wasn't mine last time, I wasn't getting really great spin times. They weren't bad, but they weren't like the spin times I would expect from from brass. Take a quick look under these buttons too. When you mix media blasted with some polish, I actually really start liking that difference in texture. Anywho, I like the bearing retention. Now that is glued in there. I did pop this out when I tumbled it and then put it back in. So it's the same bearing that comes with it. And I've been spinning this a little bit, so the bearing's probably got a little bit of break-in, probably has a little more break-in to go. But we were getting, I don't even remember what I was getting before on the other one I tested. I think something like 3 minutes on a table spin, and I certainly would expect more from brass. And with this new bearing, with it being a little broken in and given a good clean, I cleaned it while the spinner was being tumbled. What do you want to guess? Go ahead, take a guess. Table spin. If you guess 7 minutes and 36 seconds, you're right. What about a vertical spin? Go ahead and guess. See how long it holds onto the warp? That means you got a good spin time going on here. How long do you think it goes on a vertical spin? If you guessed 11 minutes and 54 seconds, you were right. So she's a heavy spinner, if you don't recall. Much, much heavier than the aluminum version. So they do make a stainless steel version as well, but look at that, 118 grams. So she's starting to get in that real heavy weight where you start to see depreciating values, or, oh, here comes the wind, some depreciating returns on table spins because of that downward mass. So. But she is a good little fidgeter. You know what it reminds me of, and I think I might have mentioned this, it reminds me a lot of what like a 3-arm Nautilus might feel like, right? Big, heavy brass, very rounded, very ergonomic. These things here look kind of cool aesthetically for me. I don't know if it's a design choice I prefer, like something to it doesn't really speak to me, but functionally you really grabs your fingers well there. So as opposed to having a flat surface, if I get my fingers on the side here, my fingers can still bite in and get a good pull. Pushing and flicking because it curves out, and this little bit in here, if you get it right in the middle, that actually helps your finger grab a hold of something and to push off on. Preloaded flicks are good. Pulling like this is actually really good because everything's so rounded. There's a little divot here. If you catch it on the end, your finger's got something to grab onto, but most of the time you're probably going to catch it on a corner and be pulling the arm in. Same thing with flicking. It's those outward swoops that make that fidgeting good in any direction, So Yeah, brass Sonder. So the upgraded bearing is nice in there. Getting the finish that actually speaks to you is nice in there. So I think the aluminum is something like 30 something bucks. Brass, I want to say, is 67. Stainless steel, I think, is closer to 80 or 90. And then there's a titanium that I think is just over 100. So titanium is probably a sweet spot for most people, because that aluminum is pretty nice because of how big it is. There's still a lot of mass there. So with titanium, you're probably in good shape. So, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of redo this guy. Give it the old second look, the more in-depth review. I'm trying to get my playlists on my channel somewhat organized, so we'll consider this a review as opposed to, I think it was a first look I looked at before. So, and if there's anything else, if you go through that first look playlist and there's something in there that you want to see a more in-depth review on, now that I've had those for a while, I'm probably going to go through the channel a little bit. I think the spinners that are getting delivered are going to start slowing down a little bit, so I'm going to need to do more reviews and shootouts, especially if we want to keep daily content going. So we'll see what happens as the weather gets, weathery with winter. I'm not going to be able to record outside, and that's where I like to do a lot of my recording throughout the week. So so we'll see what we can make happen, internet. But yeah, brass Sonder. So I really am digging this guy. This has actually been one of my preferred spinners lately. So downsides, I think for me the biggest downside was aesthetically. It wasn't something that really spoke to me, so I probably wouldn't have purchased it for that reason. But now having it in my hand, it is a really nice fidgeter, and again, having that stone wash, it kind of almost looks like a gold. I don't know what kind of the different makes of brass they've got, but once that Flitz polish is on there, it hasn't really patinaed after a couple days. Now I know Flitz does delay the patina, but it almost looks gold. I'm really liking the look and the feel of this guy. So can I recommend it? I think for the price, it's a winner. So especially when you look at something like like the Nautilus, which again I think is a very comparable spinner at around 80 bucks. The 60 bucks for this guy is definitely a worthwhile investment. So if you're looking for a big, heavy, ergonomic, round brass spinner, look no further. Sonder. And I love that button. I know some people have the button I really love, so aesthetically the button really speaks to me. I don't know what it is, especially now that it's kind of worn in and looks aged. So anyway, get yourself some if you want some, internet. Leave you with a warp. No, we're going too hard. Look at it, hold that warp. Time stopping warp. Kisses, internet.